Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, October 31st. It's Halloween. It's also a vacation day for me. Been doing a lot of projects at home and I'm ready to get out on the road and have some me time. So a lot of my friends and family have asked me what it's like to travel in a Tesla. Really pretty easy to do. The car kind of takes all the work out of it for you. The people totally opposed to electric cars. You can't make it across town without having to stop and charge. So what's the real story? What's the truth? Well, I own a Tesla. It's a Model Y Performance, but I wouldn't call myself a fanboy. I just like cars. And today I'm going to give you a little bit of a perspective of what it's like to take a 185-mile round trip in a Tesla. And we'll probably stop for a little bit of charging, even though we really don't have to, just because I want to kind of show you what sort of time is involved in stopping at a high-speed charger. The area we're going to is Elephant Rock State Park. So it should be a fun road trip today. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the car. So if you have any curiosity about what it's like to own an electric car, watch the video and enjoy it. So the first thing that I do when I'm going to take a road trip is I have to prepare. That means I want my coffee, I need some sodas, and I probably need a few snacks to enjoy along the way. All right, so the first thing we're going to look at in the car is the screen where most of your controls are set up, going into the little trip meter here. And I got there by selecting this little car right down here in the corner, and then of course you select trip. Now if you look at some of my miles that I've been driving here, I don't always reset the odometer, and so you see trip A shows 14,191 miles on it. That's not one trip, that's just how long it's been since I reset the odometer. You can tell in that time I've used up 3,947 kilowatts, and my average watt hour per mile is, see if I can get that glare off there, it's 278 watt hours per mile. So that's pretty efficient. If you look down here on the odometer, I have 34,669 miles on the car. So for today, just to show you the efficiency that I get on the car, it's 61 degrees, it's a little bit overcast, we've had some rain, so there's water on the road. All of that impacts electric cars a little bit. And so I want to get a good idea of what my range looks like for today. So we've reset trip B, and if you want to know how to do that, you go down here to reset, and I can choose current trip, trip A, or trip B. In this case, I selected B, select reset on it, and we're at all zeros down here. So one thing that I really like on this car, and I play with it quite a bit, not because I have any kind of range anxiety, but just because I like the technology, is I like this little energy graph that is available in the car. But I will show you on consumption. You can set this up to measure over the last 5 miles, 15 miles, 30 miles, and what your average range is versus what your instant range is. I happen to like mine measured out over 30 miles. And so if you look here, over the last 35 miles, or 30 miles, I've averaged 229 watt hours per mile. Now that's much more efficient than what the car needs to get its full range. This solid bar up here is the energy usage that's rated for the car to get its rated miles. So this dotted line down here shows how I'm doing against what the car expects you to use, and as you can see, I'm doing better than what the car expects. A lot of that has to do with the fact that this is a lot of city driving right here. So based on 93% currently and the way I've been driving, I can get 283 miles of range out of this car. An electric car on the highway and you're going at 70 miles per hour, you are most likely not going to get the projected range. So for me, the best I've done, I think I may have done 240 miles one time on a full charge. Typically, I can drive 190 to 210, 215 miles before the car tells me I should pull over to the next supercharger and charge up. A lot of that has to do with wind, temperature, whether or not it's raining. All that stuff can affect it. But I can get a good 2.5 to 3 hours worth of driving out of the car before I have to pull over and charge. And in most scenarios, you don't need that long to be at a charger. You can generally be there somewhere between 10 minutes and 20 minutes. You don't ever really want to spend your time charging to 100% at a supercharger. Once you get to 80%, it's charging pretty slow. So it's usually most efficient to charge it between 10 to 20% up to about 80%, then to disconnect and move on down the road. I think I'm ready to get on the road. Okay, we're here, so let's take a quick look and see how we did on range. I'm going to show you first the energy graph that I mentioned earlier that I like to use, and just show you how accurate that really is, and then we'll flip over to the trip meter. So let's take a look here. Alright, so looking over here, you can see I averaged 264 watt hours per mile. That's slightly better than what I need to get the rated range out of the car. Based on my driving habits over the last 30 miles, I have 144 miles of range left, and the trip out here was about 92 miles or so. So you can see I clearly have enough to make the trip back home without any charging, and that's roughly 184 mile round trip. So 55% left. If we look at the trip function of this, originally when I took off, the car was estimating I would arrive with 54% left. I did slightly better than that and came in with 55% left. So all in all, when you think about the car and you think about range anxiety and that sort of thing, just by looking at the performance we've had so far here today, The trip meters in the car are super accurate. I've averaged between 65 and 75 miles an hour today, kind of depending on what the speed limit was. And the temperature is 60 degrees. I think it was 58 or 59 for a good portion of the trip. And then let's switch over here. Not too much to see on the trip meter since I've kind of already explained everything. But if you look down here at trip B, I've got 93 miles. I've used up 25 kilowatts out of, I think this battery has 78, and I've averaged on here over the entire trip 273, which is a little higher than what it was showing for the last 30 miles. But the last 30 miles of that's in rural areas, so you have slower speed limits as you're going through small towns and that sort of thing. So we are going to jump out and go explore Elephant Rock. I'm going to take a little bit of video to show you guys the whole reason I came out here today, and hopefully you enjoy it and you enjoy this video. Amazing time in Elephant Rock State Park today, but it's about time to be getting on home. hope you enjoyed the view as much as I enjoyed coming to see it. And if you're ever in Missouri, put this one on your list to come and see. Right, we're at the supercharger in Melville. This is a version 2 supercharger, so it's not the version 3, the newest, fastest ones. These are 150 kilowatts maximum. Let's take a quick look at our numbers before I plug in, and you'll see that we've done pretty well. I'm projected at 60 miles of range left, and let's just kind of look and see where we're at here. So far I've gone 170 miles. So if we put the 60 projected on the end of that, you know, then we're looking at 230 miles. Could have got out of the battery for this trip. We averaged 272 watt hours per mile. And the other thing that I would mention about that, because it's important, is I didn't really need to stop. I'm only doing that for the purposes of this video. But having me come to the supercharger used a little bit of additional energy just in preconditioning the battery. So if I had driven straight home, my actual consumption would have been a little bit less because there would be no preconditioning of the battery. So anyway, give me a second to plug in and then we'll check back in. All right, it's 3:29 right now. And you can see we're ramping up pretty quickly. We're at 135 kilowatts, now it's 142. And these particular chargers max out at 150. So now the reason it says 40 minutes to charge is because I have my maximum charge set at 95. But considering we had enough charge to get home anyway, we won't be charging anywhere near that far. Typically, you aren't going to want to charge up much higher than 80 or 85% at the supercharger. It's more economical just to charge up to 80% or less and then head on down the road, because anywhere between 80 and 100% is going to extend your charging time pretty significantly. A couple of minutes time, we've already bumped up quite a bit in terms of our percentage. So you can see it, we're at 29 now. It's going fast. If you look right in here, it's 518 miles per hour that it's plugging back into the car. So you really wouldn't have a much of a wait time at all today to bump the battery back up where it needs to be. So I'm at 165. Remember, I got here with 61 miles of range left. So I've added 104 miles of range from 329 to it's now 343. So right about 15 minutes. It's taken me to add about 104, 105 miles of range. And I really don't need to charge anymore. And the supercharging station's a little more expensive than charging at home. This one is 33 cents a kilowatt, whereas where I charge at home, it costs me about between 10 and 12 cents a kilowatt. So anyway, I'm going to shut this off now because I don't need any more. But you can see we're up at almost 170 miles now, again from 61, so 110 miles worth of range, and actually we're right at 15 minutes. So, and this isn't the fastest superchargers. These are the version 2, 150 kilowatts. The faster ones are 250 kilowatts. So we could have gotten the same amount of range in probably under 10 minutes. I'm up to 173 miles now, and my charging session at the supercharger cost me $10. $10.24 to be exact. So anyway, relatively inexpensive, but definitely more expensive than home. Home is probably 1/3 this. Thanks for watching, and post down below if you have any questions. Happy to answer those, whatever those happen to be. Thank you.